This mic better not cut me down, dude.
No, was he?
Yeah.
Was he giving you trouble earlier?
Yeah, it was cutting me down before. I must sound fine on your end, right?
Oh yeah, you sound fantastic.
Yeah.
Can you hear you loud and clear?
Yeah. I don't know what. I changed angles, so I think that when I had to unplug stuff and plug it back in, it might have jacked some things up here.
Something got a little shaken up, if you will.
Yeah.
Wasn't happy with you. Maybe the microphone liked being in the other spot better, and it's revolting against you. It's a microphone.
It's not allowed to. I'm its owner. It's not allowed to revolt against me.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the PUDs Podcast. What do you got in the background? Do you have some pictures up there too?
Yeah, man. So if you listen back to Steamin Up the Hams, maybe?
Oh, yeah. I know where you're going with this.
I talked about meeting Jim Lawson, who is one of the artists on the Ninja Turtles, one of the original artists, and Joe St. Pierre, who did this Venom and Wolverine cover. So that's a couple of those prints that I got from back then.
Excellent.
So that was a long-term tease for everybody to see the prints. And then I got my Dundee.
Dundee from Dunder Mifflin, The Office. Excellent.
I got my Dundee for promising assistant manager. I got that for one of my employees, and I am not the assistant manager. I'm the full-blown manager. So it was a little. I think it was a little. It was funny stuff.
Nice.
And then I got the original PUDs Podcast plaque.
The original PUDs Podcast plaque. Oh yeah. I forget about that.
Yeah, PUDs Podcast.
Very nice.
The PUDs Podcast plaque.
The pod-plaques.
The pod plaque.
You know, the pod plaque. Everybody has a pod plaque. I don't want to have a pod plaque.
Your wife doesn't love you as much as my wife loves me. That's all.
that must be why. That must be why.
That's clearly not true. No,
I'll have to ask for a pod plaque for Christmas. It'll have our new logo on it though.
Yeah, you might have to ask for a pod plaque. That's a very hard thing to say.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop trying to say it.
Pod plaque. It is difficult to say. It's a tongue twister.
Nick, I know we just finished the last episode where we spent a lot of time together, but have you gotten a chance to check out the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight yet?
I did not. I've just heard a lot about it and how apparently 100,000 people couldn't watch it because Netflix couldn't actually accommodate all the traffic. And they were saying, I guess Netflix is going to be broadcasting a couple, I believe, Christmas Day games this year. And it sounds like a halftime show with Beyonce or something.
Yeah.
It's either Christmas Day. It must be Christmas Day because there's no way it's Thanksgiving Day they're doing that.
Yeah.
But they were saying that they were testing a lot of their technology for sort of upscaling and handling that kind of load. And it seems that the initial test was a bit lackluster. I don't think they anticipated it being as big of a thing as it actually ended up being as far as viewership and how many people are streaming it.
Yeah, they're in trouble for sure. I don't think there's any way that they're going to be able to pull off football. Who knows? I guess maybe that fight might have been more popular than I thought it was going to be, but Christmas Day football, I can imagine, is going to be pretty huge because not everybody's home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like in addition to that, it actually sounds like they have a contract with WWE Raw too.
Oh yeah,
to be doing some of that for Monday Night Wrestling. So yeah, all sorts of stuff. But no, I didn't. Did you watch the fight? I just heard about it.
Once I heard about the fight, I really have no interest. I already had my doubts that the fight was going to be more of a sham than anything, more of a publicity stunt than anything. Yeah. And I think from what I've heard that my concerns came to be true. So whether or not that's actually true or just a lot of other people's opinions, I guess only Mike Tyson and Jake Paul know. But yeah, I thought the fix was in the entire time. So I really don't have any interest in it, I don't think.
Yeah, no. I had about as much of an interest as, like, I didn't even know who Jake Paul was until you mentioned it to me, I believe, when we were driving up to New Hampshire early in the wee morning hours.
Yeah.
You mentioned the fight, 'cause it was the night previous before we left, so.
Yeah. He's just created his own hype, so it's kind of wild, but yeah, everybody says that they're going to never watch a Jake Paul fight until they forget, and then he's fighting somebody like Conor McGregor or somebody like that, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be the one to really show him, and then it's like, no, it's all for show. Like it's basically wrestling, like it's all scripted. Maybe not to that extent, but you know what I mean.
It's predetermined outcome for sure.
Yeah,
and the deals and all that.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh man,
getting ready to go away, dude. You getting ready to take off?
Yeah, so I'm going to be traveling for work for the first time since I had to think back, but it's since 2019. But there's I'm in the insurance field or financial services field, but I do work as a software engineer. Not to give too much away, but going to a big tech conference out there in Las Vegas. So I'll be flying out. Kind of been to Las Vegas so many times for work that it's a little bit like I'm not really looking forward to it. I'm kind of looking forward. I'm sure there'll be good content. It's the big conference for Amazon Web Services out there, so there should be a bunch of good sessions and stuff. And I'm going with some folks from work whose company I enjoy, so should be an interesting time. But yeah, flying out. Unfortunately, flying back on my birthday, so I'll be celebrating my birthday in Las Vegas, or at least the beginning of it. In Las Vegas for the second time in my life. So the last time I was out there was actually for a conference, or I should say last time I was out there for a conference, I also I think my birthday was like the day before we flew back, but yeah, getting ready to make the flight out there. At least I get direct flights from Logan this time, as opposed to doing a couple connectors, which hopefully won't bite me like it did when we went to our 5th anniversary trip and we kind of ended up in Palm Springs for an extra day. But we'll see what happens, man. But yeah, going out to the desert, probably won't get out hiking, I'm assuming. So it is what it is. I know there's definitely a bunch of good hiking in close proximity to Las Vegas.
I'm sure if you can find
the research before, but
I'm sure if you can find a way, dude, that you'll get.
Oh, if a opportunity introduces itself, I will be out there. I've been just watching the weather. It's actually not. It's funny. You always think of like the desert as being hot, like stereotypically, but it's really just like 60s and 30s out there. Yeah, it doesn't look super warm or anything. I actually saw it rain in Las Vegas one of the times I was out there too, which was apparently the first time it had rained in like a year and a half. I think that was back in like 2018 or 2017, something like that. So it's funny because so when it rains there, because there's all oil and stuff like on the ground, and you think it just things from cars and stuff and people walking and whatnot. So it actually, I have vivid memories of me and some of my colleagues were all wearing like the dress shoes that aren't necessarily good for grip. And it rained out, and we were trying to walk across like those like sort of catwalks and the sky bridges that go across. Whoa. Oh yeah, and we were it was like trying to ice skate basically up and down things. That's probably one of my funnier memories I have of being out there. But yeah, man, we'll be heading out west. We're trying to schedule these podcasts as to not impede our listening and release schedule.
Yeah.
So we're working things out
for the people.
Moves. It's for the people. It's
a couple of men for the people. That's all.
Yeah. That's all, man.
We do what we can. You want to get into the next music moment?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
All right, Nick. Next music moment is brought to you by Roots Coffee Roasters. It's that time of year. Christmas season is coming. So gift your loved ones the gift of caffeine. Go on to Roots. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give. Go on to Roots Coffee Roasters. You can find them at rootscoffeeroasters.us. Go onto their website and use promo code PUDS10. You can get 10% off your order. Whole bean, ground to your specifications. They got it all. So, and part of the proceeds go to drilling wells in Asia, Africa, and South America. So you're also helping out a good cause. So go on there, rootscoffeeroasters.us. Find them at Roots Coffee Roasters on any social media. And when you go on and you order something from the website, use promo code PUDS10 for 10% off your order.
All right. So tonight, I don't want to say the right term is a cop out, but I think the listeners are going to get into a little insight about how I tend to be when I find a band that I like and enjoy listening to. So 2 weeks back, I had one of I believe it was the third studio album by Queens of the Stone Age, whose name is escaping me. I'm going to look it up really briefly because we're going to keep this going. Song for the Deaf. So Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age. We did like 2 episodes ago. But needless to say, I really, really enjoyed that album. And I decided to download some of their other albums that were recommended on Apple Music. And I've been really liking and digging their newest album that they released out in 2023 called In Times New Roman. So it's also interesting to me. So this is like a 20-year gap between the albums. The other one's like 2002 to 2023. So obviously there's some things that have changed among the lead singer's voice. Like you can definitely tell he sounds a little bit older, Josh Homme. But as far as the musicianship and the songwriting, granted, I have a lot of their catalog to go through. This is actually the 8th studio album by Queens of the Stone Age, but I've actually really enjoyed this one, I think, the most. Out of that, I've just sort of kind of been, I guess, sampling different songs from sort of different albums and stuff, but this one's kind of caught my ear, at least for now. Nice. Some of the favorite songs off it, and I believe these are all singles, but Paper Machete, Negative Space, and Emotion Sickness, all super great tunes, very driving guitars. Again, like a lot of that riff-driven rock, but just a lot of different, I think, inconsistencies. Not like in a bad way, inconsistency is the wrong word, but just chord changes and timing changes and things that keep this album really lively. It's been a great album to run to or just kind of do yard work to, even though that's kind of dwindling down, I guess, in these past few weeks. Yeah. My leaf blowing's finally dwindling down, thankfully.
I would hope that your yard work is kind of like, I would hope that you're kind of almost done with yard work, Nick.
Yeah, we're winding down for sure. But great album. I was kind of curious. As always, I kind of like to look up these albums with sort of the concepts that inspired them. Songs for the Deaf, you remember, sort of like about this. It's sort of like almost like you're listening to a radio station driving a car from like LA to kind of the desert, Joshua Tree. And the whole concept behind this one, not quite as fun, but it's basically inspired by what Josh Homme described as the toughest and darkest 4 years of his life. So not super bright. But I guess within the time span that this was written, he was going through a nasty custody battle with his wife. He also had loss of several different friends and musicians that were close to him. And he also had a cancer diagnosis and had surgery that thankfully, I guess he had it removed and has since sort of recovered from it. So a lot going on, to say the least. And you can definitely hear that coming through in a lot of the lyrics and sort of thematically on the album. But really, really enjoying this one. I think I'll probably be plugging a couple different Queens of the Stone Age albums as we keep going through, because typically when I find an artist I like, I kind of just dive full in, as I kind of do, for better or for worse, with a lot of other things in my life. I kind of go 150%.
No way.
No, really? Way. Yeah, so I'm sure I'll be listening to them for the next coming months and kind of diving into their catalog a bit more. But In Times New Roman by Queens of the Stone Age. Check it out.
Sweet, dude. Sweet.
Do you have any Josh's jazzy musical moments tonight?
I do, and I'm going to keep it brief because I really want to get to our guest.
Yeah, we got to keep a great guest coming up.
But it's not really a musical moment because I really haven't heard the album yet. But I just want to know if you have heard anything about Linkin Park's new album from Zero.
So I believe I heard a single from it on Sirius XM, and I was not a fan of it.
Not a fan
at all. Yeah, I thought it sounded just not.
I think
it's so tough to come back from Chester Bennington not being the lead singer. It's almost one of those things I just wish they let it lie. And I don't know. There's plenty of bands where lead singers step in and it does work out, but it was actually it almost sounded like they either had a guy with a very high voice, which I almost thought it was like Anthony Green from like Circus Survive and Sayison, or it's a female vocalist, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, it's a female vocalist. Her name's Emily Armstrong. So she's taken over kind of in that Chester Bennington role, I would guess. Okay. You could say, but so they just released this album. I think she joined them back in September maybe.
Okay.
But I guess they're touring, and I think there's a lot of controversy around it just because I think they said they weren't going to tour anymore, or they weren't going to make another album, and then they kind of did, and they promised Chester Bennington's mom, I think, that they weren't going to do it, and then they did, but didn't like talk to her about it. Not that you have to, but
Yeah.
So I think there's a little controversy around it in that light, but I mean, I still kind of want to check it out.
Yeah, you got to give him a chance. I do get the sort of the, I guess, people not being super happy about that. I kind of equate it though. You got to think of different situations that have happened, like in music, where like you think of like when Kurt Cobain passed away, a lot of people were like insulted by the fact that Dave Grohl wanted to start another band. And you look at all the things he's been into, from being a drummer like with Queens of the Stone Age to the Foo Fighters to all these different musical projects. And he had like, just because maybe like it's a little different with the Linkin Park thing because they are continuing on without really, I think, the guy that made them so iconic. But I mean, these guys he was surrounded by and played with, they were all musicians, and that's what they know how to do.
Right, exactly. That's what they do.
You can't ask them just to stop trying to be creative and trying to keep. And if they felt like, I guess, that enough pieces were there to continue with the vehicle that is Linkin Park, then, I mean, by all means, try to go for it. And if they weren't contractually obligated not to do another album, like,
no,
I guess I should say a situation where they legally couldn't make another album without him.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. The musicians got to keep going. They don't stop being musicians just because when a fellow musician has passed away. So, yeah, no, it's a really good point, Nick. So,
and
I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check out the album, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that one. Again, I try not to judge a whole album by one song, and I did want to say it's a little bit hypocritical in the situation too, because I'm about 99% sure Chester Bennington was actually touring with the Stone Temple Pilots, part time at least, who they lost their lead singer, so he actually was filling in for. Yeah, people are gonna probably rake me for this. I forget the name of the lead singer's name from the Stone Temple Pilots that passed away, but in any event, I mean, he was sort of doing the same thing for the Stone Temple Pilots, that the person that's filling in. And I have nothing against female vocalists, by the way. Debatably, I probably like more female vocalists than male if you listen to my musical catalog. But I think it's those are some big shoes to fill, to say the least.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. We have a very special guest tonight, and I really can't wait to get to him. So, you ready to get into this main topic?
Yeah, let's get into the main topic.
Let's do it. All right, so as we had mentioned, the very special guest that we are so excited to have on, we have Rachel Warnock, who is the founder and CEO of Impact Botanicals. She's also the lead herbalist there, and they are the newest sponsor of the PUDs Podcast, and we are so happy to have them, and we're so happy to have Rachel on this evening. How are you, Rachel?
I'm doing great, Josh. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So for the listeners, Rachel is a clinically trained herbalist specializing in nervous system, and she created this line of body care products called Impact Botanicals. She started this business. Her products range from face, hair, body, general wellness, and harness the power of plants to nourish and build the body. She's a resident Ayurveda instructor at the Boston School of Herbal Studies. She was a top 3 finisher on season 13 of the Blocks entrepreneurial reality TV show. Former boat racing national champion. When I saw that, I thought that was pretty intriguing.
Oh my eye.
And she's also an activist, and we can't glow enough about her, and I'm just so happy to have a chance to talk to her, and I'm going to let you talk now.
Nick, Josh, thank you so much for having me on. I love spending time outdoors. Big fan of anything trees, nature, hiking related. So it's exciting for me to talk to you guys today.
That's awesome, because that's kind of what we're all about. We trees, nature, outdoors, and everything in between, kind of. So
this is our vibe. So Rachel, do you want to kind of talk about maybe some of your hiking background and maybe some of the hikes you enjoy and sort of favorite trails? What do you like doing?
Yeah. So I know that this is a New England podcast. I have to admit that I've done most of my hiking out on the West Coast in the Cascades in
That's
California. But one of my favorite trails up in Vermont is the Abbey Pond Trail. And Mount Monadnock has been on my to-do list for so long. It just keeps getting pushed off. But one day it's going to happen. So that's one that I'm really looking forward to. And yeah, actually, we don't do it anymore, but I used to have a line of products that was exclusively named after mountains, and they were all mountains that I either hiked or I wanted to hike.
That's awesome.
So, it's a big fan of spending time outdoors. Had a lot to do with boat racing, actually. I grew up racing boats with my dad, and we went camping a lot. And then when you were done racing, you could go hiking. And so now a lot of my boat racing friends and I, we go on hikes together. It's good stuff.
Yeah, cool. Can we dig in on that?
What type of boat racing?
Can we dig in on that?
We can. So think of it like go-karts on the water. They're one-person little hydrofoil speedboats with an outboard engine. They're different classes. So I raced in the A Hydro class. It was the smallest adult class, and that's smallest based on weight. So hitting speeds of about 60 miles an hour on the surface of the water. And again, that's the slowest adult class. The fastest I ever went was 80 on the surface of the water.
Holy moly.
Wow.
You're riding a piece of cardboard, right, strapped to an engine. And there are about 12 of us on the water at any given moment in time. And we're all dive bombing into these corners together, going through an oval and trying to win, right? I was also part of the United States International Racing Team. I co-founded that team when I was in college and helped bring home 4 bronze medals from Olympic recognized events over the course of 10 years. So yeah, I did that for quite a while. It was a big part of my life.
That's super cool.
Thank you.
So because you hiked on the West Coast, that's making me believe that you grew up out there. Is that no? Okay.
I grew up in the Midwest. Actually, I moved out to Boston 10 years ago. But I have family and I have a strong friend community out on the West Coast.
Awesome.
So boat racers, grad school friends, and alumni, and we try to do every year. My grad school friends and I try to get together, and these are my fellow herbalists, right? Like, so I actually got my master's degree in herbal medicine. So these are all people I went to college with. These are all people that studied the herbs with me, and we try to get together once a year. And most of them live on the West Coast. I'm the weird one who lives on the East Coast.
So you kind of brought it up a little bit that. And I brought up at the beginning, you're the lead herbalist for Impact Botanicals. You have friends that are herbalists. Can you kind of explain to myself and the listeners, like, what is an herbalist? What does it mean to be an herbalist?
No, I think that's a great question. And I want to, so historically speaking, herbalists are like the first scientists and doctors of humanity. We're people who are trained in plants. And it's just like any other profession. There are different specialties, and then there's a range of us, right? So some of us are more clinical. I think I fall a little bit more into that category. But others are very into the growing and the harvesting and the product side of things. Others are into the, working one-on-one with patients and prescribing things to help them meet their health goals. And I was clinical for 3 years. I had my own private practice when I graduated college. Wow. And I worked for 3 years in private practice. I taught at university, and I worked in one of Milwaukee's top cancer hospitals, working with people who had cancer, and doing a lot of neuropathy treatments at that time. Herbalists have specialties. We tend to niche down into what speaks to us. For me, that's the nervous system. Others are fertility experts. Others are digestive experts. Others are experts in, chronic pain or autoimmune disorders and things like that. So we niche down, we specialize, but ultimately we're schooled in plants, and we're schooled in utilizing them as medicines.
Wow, that really is incredible, especially the way that you put it, where early doctors, and you think of, like, when I think about early medicine, it's a lot of like kind of what you've seen on the TV, like whatever you've picked up and throughout the media that you've consumed, like a lot of like Native American medicine man stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and that can be a real misconception.
Mm-hmm.
We actually know most about treating women's conditions from the indigenous cultures of America.
Wow.
And I also want to point, so there's a couple different schools here. There's Chinese, there's Ayurveda, which is from South Asia, and that's the one I'm schooled in. There's Western, and then Indigenous America falls under like Western, that school.
Yeah.
When we think about back in the day, right, like the medieval times and the Renaissance and whatnot, and we're like, oh, people only lived to be like 40 years old. Maybe in Europe, but people in India, people in China, they were living into their 80s, just like people do now.
Wow.
And they had these really complex, really rich medical systems that were helping people live to be 80 years old back in 500 AD, right? So what you see in the media isn't always an accurate reflection of humanity at large. And what was true in Europe wasn't necessarily true in the rest of the world. And they had very advanced medical practices well before Europe did.
That's awesome. That's such a good point. And it is one of those things where it's like you only consume whatever you see on TV.
Yeah.
So it's like, so how do you take that love for, or the passion and being an herbalist, and like what made you want to start creating body care products, and or even just to start a company in general?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. Twofold answer there. So one, I got into products because, as I mentioned, I was working at the hospital and I was working with a lot of neuropathy patients at that time. And I developed my first formula while I was at the hospital. And we saw a reduction of pain in neuropathy patients by like 80%. And so
that's
when it was,
crazy.
I had,
so it's almost doubly as effective. That's impressive.
Well, and there wasn't a whole lot for chemotherapy-related neuropathy pain. They were treating it with capsicum, which is also a plant extract, but it's very heating and very warming, but it has the side effect of it can also cause burns. And neuropathy is a very burning, painful sensation in your legs often. And so when it's painful, it's burning, it's hot, and we're treating it with something that's going to be hot also, patients were getting burned. Patients still get burned from that kind of treatment. And so I developed a topical analgesic with different plants, and we were using that, and it was very effective. So then, of course, I tried to figure out, how can I make this a real thing? And I'm 24 years old, right? I don't have any business experience. I'm just an herbalist. Trying to help people. And so then, of course, I go after venture capital funding, and nobody gives, a 24-year-old millions of dollars to pursue FDA studies for this thing that she made while working at the hospital, right? Like nobody does.
Yeah. Write the check. Right.
Please. Write the check to a 20, who doesn't have any at that time business experience, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it was I was kind of discovering this passion and this ability and this talent for formulation. And there were also things in my life that were really pointing to creating change in the world. We mentioned in the beginning, I have an activist history. And as different things were taking place in the world, as Citizens United was coming, the law of the land, that was a Supreme Court decision that basically allowed unfettered money into our political system, and put power in the hands of corporations instead of flesh and blood people. And so I wanted to create a system of change. I wanted to create systemic empowerment. And in order to do that, I was going to need to build something. And the best thing to build was going to be a business, right? An agent of change. And that kind of spoke to my ethos of wanting business to be a factor for good for the environment, for the people, for communities. Most of what we kind of see in society in a lot of ways, it's structured for disempowerment. And I wanted to create a system of empowerment instead. So I just used my degree as an herbalist. Like that was the means by which I would, affect change. But what I wanted to create was impact, right? So impact is what we do. Medical body care is how we do it. And so it was this very lofty ambition and goal of and I had no idea what I was biting off, but I was like, I'm just going to, do this. And honestly, I haven't looked back. So yeah, I ended up building out a line of care products because the goal is to create a lot of jobs. And when you have a product-based business, you can create a lot of jobs as opposed to a service-based business when it's just around me. So I transferred from service to product so that I could have something that would be scalable. The goal is to employ as many people as possible and then create systems of empowerment through that, right?
That's so cool.
That's very
admirable. Yeah, I think so too. Thank you.
So as someone who enjoys hiking, obviously you're really, really into nature, and being an herbalist and stuff, to say the least, you're into nature, I think.
Yes.
Do you want to sort of tell us a little bit about some of your sustainability initiatives?
Yeah. Okay. No, absolutely. Okay. So, well, one, we create everything in our own apothecary space that's solar powered. So there are no fossil fuels used in the creation of the product. I know, right?
Very cool. That's awesome.
That's like so crazy. No way.
So organic, right? So no pesticides, produced with solar power. And then this is my favorite thing. We partnered with Repurpose Global a few years back, and they are the world's leading plastic action platform. And so thanks to our partnership with them, every single product sold directly removes a pound of plastic from the waste cycle and gets converted into energy.
That's awesome.
Which is like, yes,
That's
please.
So cool.
So since our relationship began, we've converted over 3,000 pounds of plastic into energy.
Wow.
So how exactly does that work?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked. Okay. So it's a technology called co-processing, which is not used really in North America or Europe. It's a 40-year-old technology, which is just mind-blowing because how do we not use it when it's been around for that long? And it's got the endorsement of the UN Basel Convention and the Stockholm Convention as like, this is the method for getting rid of low value plastics. So think of it as chip bags and candy wrappers. Like you can't recycle that stuff, right?
Yeah, you can't. There's no reusability.
No, it's the cockroach of
repurpose
garbage. It takes hundreds of years to break down, right?
Yeah.
So what they do is they put it into a kiln, like a pottery kiln, right? And nobody wants to say, don't use the word incineration because it's not incineration. We're not burning it. I'm like, okay, well, like you're heating the kiln up to the really high temperatures. So like the plastic is kind of like getting incinerated.
You're making it real hot.
It's getting really hot and it breaks down. But because it's contained, because it's contained and because of the temperature, it's not releasing greenhouse gas emissions the way that happens when you just burn plastic in your backyard, right? Okay. So there's no greenhouse gas emissions, and it creates combustible energy in that process, which then there's a pipe connected to that kiln. So plastic goes in, gets heated, energy comes out, and you can use that to power the grid.
Wow.
Cool.
And they do that in places like India and the Philippines and places where, the global West ships our garbage to the global South, right? And they have to deal with it. And that's one of the ways that they deal with our trash. And of course, their own trash. But you're literally removing it from the waste cycle and turning it into energy. And that's just mind blowing. And it gives me a lot of joy that we can be a part of that process, that we're employing more waste workers, most of whom are women, and using the funds to feed their kids. And that we're also removing plastic and garbage from nature, from the waste cycle. We participated in this big Himalayan cleanup with Repurpose Global for Earth Day this past year.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
Repurpose went into parts of the Himalayas that have been untouched by humans for like 10 years and did massive cleanup, right? This is where endangered plants grow. This is where people want to hike and see nature's beauty, right? They pay all of this, right? And then there's plastic all over the place. So Repurpose went in and cleaned it up, and we were part of that. Like we were part of that support to make that happen. Wow. And so it's just feel good on so many fronts.
Yeah, those sustainability initiatives. I've been on all over your website, like reading. There's so much on there. For the listeners, just check out Impact Botanicals online on their website. It's my Impact Botanicals.
We'll be throwing links and show notes to come as well, but we will definitely, and I'm gonna find a link to how that whole sort of engine kind of deal with the plastic. That what's the type of technology called again?
It's called co-processing.
Co-processing.
And if you look on our website, there is on the menu, there's about our relationship with Repurpose Global, and there's a landing page there that explains everything.
Awesome, that's fascinating. As kind of a nerd, that sounds amazing.
I've read more on that website in the last week than I probably have in the last month.
Fantastic.
But so as someone now, because now you're operating in the health and beauty space, how do you work? There's this I don't know how you want to put it, but there's this I don't know. Sometimes I guess it can be when you think health and beauty products, it's almost portrayed as a woman's game.
Yeah,
we'll
totally
say it like that.
Yeah.
So how can you basically change the assumptions of, I guess, men that health and beauty is not for just women? It's important for you as well as a man. And it took me a long time personally to kind of stop washing my face with the same thing I used to wash my hair and body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how do you kind of break down that barrier, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And for the record, I'm one of those people who believes men should, feel good in their skin, feel good in their bodies, and really like the way that they look. Just like men should be able to indulge in that way, just as women do, right? It's self-care knows no gender. Mm-hmm. And so for me as a formularian, it's been really important to have products that spoke to men. Right. And so that's one of the reasons why we have aftershaves. That's one of the reasons why we have beard oils. Right.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because I am so excited about the beard. I'm a big time beard oil guy.
You love beard oils.
Yeah.
He also has given me beard oil I don't have a beard right now, as you can see on the camera, but I do usually grow a beard over the winter, and usually one of our Christmas presents is usually Josh gives me some beard oil. So
that's great.
And it's taken me. Yeah, for sure, because it's taken me a long time to find the right beard oil, and even then it's I have I forgot what it's called, but my skin gets extremely dry, and flaky and things like that, and I have to see a dermatologist. I have rosacea, so I have these skin issues that I've been dealing with my entire life, but like you said before, I've kind of just been dealing with it because it's I'm a man. I don't use face lotions. It doesn't matter. It's okay if it burns a little bit. You know what I mean?
See, and you shouldn't have to, right?
Yeah, right. You're right.
I shouldn't have to make my face peel.
Yeah.
That's discomfort that you shouldn't have to deal with in your life, right?
Right.
And if you were empowered with a choice of products that solved that for you, right? And it wasn't that hard, it wasn't that expensive, it was very accessible. You deserve to have soft, smooth skin that doesn't itch or burn, right? That's a basic
100%. I agree with you. And I think my favorite part about your products is the fact that they are natural products. But you're gonna have some naysayers out there that say, it's natural. It can't work that well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you have to say to those people?
Yeah, that's always a big one. So I like to tell a story about how, this is one that I used to tell clinically all the time too. So I think we've all heard of Lipitor. It's a very commonly prescribed cholesterol medication.
Yeah, cholesterol, right? Yep.
Yeah, the primary active ingredient in Lipitor comes from red yeast rice. And you could just eat red yeast rice and that would also help lower your cholesterol. So everything that we have comes from nature, right? Mm. And so most of those things, when you think of something that's not natural, right? If we think of something, really clinical, made in a lab, right? Even if those molecular components are lab created, they're based off of something in nature, right? They're based off of a molecular structure or a molecule, a chemical compound that was found in nature. And so we're either replicating it with tweaks, or we're extracting it from the plant so that we can patent it and then sell it at like 5 times the value of what it was just as the plant, or 10 times the value. And when we extract things from a plant, like you can extract vitamin E, or you can extract vitamin A, or whatever it is from a plant, that's also done through a chemical process. And so then there's trace chemicals on there, usually acetone. So when you do so, and sometimes I like to frame our products as whole foods skincare, because we're using the whole plant. There's no extract coming out of the plant, and there's nothing obviously lab or man-made in it. It's the whole plant going into the product. And going back to the Lipitor red yeast rice analogy. So when you take Lipitor, there are certain side effects. If you eat a whole lot of red yeast rice, and by a lot, I mean a lot, like aggressive amounts for like upwards of 6 months, you'll have the same side effects as you would if you were just taking Lipitor, right? Like you can achieve that. But because you're getting the whole plant, there's a symbiotic balance going on there. And so you're less likely to get the side effects, the negative side effects from red yeast rice that you are from Lipitor. Okay. And the same is true for the skincare. So when you're using the whole plant, when you're using whole food skincare or natural skincare, you're getting the synergistic effect. So you're not just getting the thing that you actually wanted. You're not just getting the vitamin E. You're getting all of these other things that support the vitamin E, that make it really bioavailable so that your body can absorb it, right? Use it without causing an allergic reaction. There are certain people who have vitamin C allergies. Our vitamin C comes from amla berry, which is really rich in vitamin C. It's really high and potent in vitamin C, but they might have an allergic reaction to a vitamin C extract. I have yet to see somebody have an allergic reaction to amla berry, right? So yes, some people say that the extracts are more effective. It's like getting a shot. You're going to see results faster because it's hyper concentrated. But the whole foods typically have the same long-term benefits. You're not waiting that much longer, if at all, to see a result. And you're giving your skin, you're giving your body more goodness. You're stressing it out. You're making it more bioavailable. You're teaching it to use and create its own nutrients, like pomegranate and chia. Help your body produce and use its own collagen. So rather than taking a collagen supplement and being like, okay, body, don't worry, I'm giving this to you for you. You don't have to make your own. You're encouraging your body to make your own collagen, even as you age, right? So this is the intelligence of the plants coming into our bodies. You don't get that with an extract. You don't get that with something lab formulated. That's why we like plants.
Yeah, no, and it's really actually really cool to think about. It's like your body is already capable of doing these things. And if a plant is going to help your body to just work the way that it should, like sometimes we don't need to force it. We can just let it happen. You know what I mean?
I love how you sort of dove into I mean, you see it everywhere with, engineering and stuff too, and I guess as with Herbalist as well. But that whole idea of trying to mimic, or actually creating things that are man-made that are mimicking exactly what exists in nature, which to me is always this weird phenomenon of why not just use the natural thing that kind of can do the right thing for us rather than trying to mimic it. I suspect a lot of it is monetary costs and things like that.
Yeah. In some ways, it's replicating it so that it's cheaper. In other ways, it's replicating it so that you can patent it. Like there are good reasons to do this, right? But sometimes there can be a little bit of harm in that process.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of plants, I think a lot of our listeners know I'm a gardener. I also am sort of a plant enthusiast, I might call myself. I have lots of different palms and things like around our house. And I very much enjoy sort of taking care of them and whatnot. Is there any sort of commonalities, I guess, between like the plants that you're using the most? Is it like sort of all over the map, like where they're coming from? Like, I don't know if you just want to, it's probably an open-ended question, but I'm just kind of curious, like what are the the really heavy hitters with the great ingredients? And
so I really like to use the full spectrum of Mother Nature in my formulations. That probably is not that makes me less of a businesswoman, I think, because typically businesses like to use, I use these 10 ingredients in different ways. I'm using like 50 different ingredients in different ways, in different, measurements, and like, oh, we only use this one plant in this one, product. But we do that because it's so good and it's designed to do this specific thing. And you can't have this result without this plant. That would be sacrilegious.
I like it.
That's such a good point, though.
Yeah, it's I feel like, and that's part of being an herbalist, right? Like, I want to use and capture the full expanse of Mother Nature in my products because it's not boring to me then. And it's, you're bringing these different medicines together to make something really strong and really good for your customers.
How are you sourcing these too? Is it like I'm imagining you go online, you just kind of click through, and you're like, oh, I want some of this, some of this, some of this kind of deal.
Yeah. So I have suppliers that I really like, and they are, USDA certified organic farms. They're pulling from they're middlemen, of course, but they're pulling from USDA certified organic farms, mostly in Oregon, California, and New Mexico. But some of the herbs are coming from India, and it's interesting because those farms in India are actually, they hold United States USDA certification, right? The organic certification. So even though they're in India, they're meeting American USDA organic certification standards. And that's something that we do have to be really careful about when we source herbs overseas. There are potential for a lot of different contaminations, but some herbs only grow in certain areas, right? And so we actually have farms in other countries that hold American certifications like that, which is kind of a cool thing. But yeah, we're getting through these reputable and very tested, very vetted suppliers who also use sustainable farming practices. So
excellent.
I love the sustainability of your company. Like, I really do.
Thank you.
Because I kind of parallel it to, like, when we talk about the hiking community basically every episode. So, but that whole leave no trace mentality.
Yeah.
When it comes to hiking, like, you go in, you go hike the trail, and nobody should ever know that you were there.
Right.
It kind of feels like, from a business standpoint, I guess when you think about it, it's I guess the modern term is like lowering your carbon footprint, I would guess.
Yeah,
so
that's what I look at it.
It seems like you guys are really kind of have that leave no trace mentality with what it is that you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Throughout all the processes, from sourcing the material to creating the products, the packaging. I love the packaging of the products. Like, I'm super into, like, I love the wood. Oh man, it's so it's like right up my alley. I love it.
No, thank you for saying that. I as I was building it, as I was creating, it was this notion of like, oh my God, if something that I make ends up in the Pacific garbage patch, like I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, And so it was really, it did take me like over a year to vet my suppliers, to do the quality testing, to get the packaging, to find labels that are that are certified garden compostable, right? So like the labels on our jars, you can put them in your garden and they will break down. The adhesive
That's incredible.
will break down.
That's awesome.
Right. And it's about not like the impact that I want on the world is not garbage. It's what I want, people in the communities to feel. And that whatever I put out into the world is going to break down, it's going to be reused, it's going to, be recycled, so that there's nothing that I'm responsible for ending up in the Pacific garbage patch.
Leave no trace. I'm telling
you.
It's
Leave
like
no trace.
It is a thing. Like, even I think one of my analogies or things I like to say to people who are maybe new hiking, like, even people, like, you'll see people throw out banana peels or apple cores or stuff like that, but that takes months and months to break down. Like, people think sometimes you throw stuff out and outside, unfortunately, and that it just disintegrates and it just kind of fades away and it just does its own thing. But that's not the case with most things food wise that we consume. Certainly not plastics or anything like that. And I think that's so cool that you're like, if this ended up in the Pacific garbage patch, I literally couldn't sleep at night. That's
it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So that's great. So, touching back to sort of the hiking community and sort of a lot of our listeners, and we do have Christmas coming up and Black Friday very soon.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
are there any products that you might recommend sort of to hikers specifically? I know you've got an array of products out there, so I'm sure you've got a few to say the least.
No, so I think in terms of my outdoor enthusiasts, my fellow outdoor enthusiasts, I think 2 products would be really nice. So we've got our recovery aid. This is a sore muscle and joint serum. It's one of my earlier formulations and a top seller. It has a cumulative benefit, so the more you use it, the better it gets. But it's anti-inflammatory, and it also has rejuvenative herbs in it, which means that helps to repair damaged tissue. So if you pull something, if you strain something, if you're working out, and I mean, just the process of working out involves tearing down muscle tissue. Mm-hmm. And so this helps to rebuild that more quickly. Mm-hmm. It's one I love.
So and that's then, just before you go on to, I'm sorry, I'd like to parallel it to things that like people might be able to. So that's like an icy hot, but it's also going to help your body repair. So it's going to take away some of the pain and also help to repair.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
It's icy hot. It's tiger balm, but it's not just the pain reliever. It's going to long-term build, and it's specifically effective on the nervous system and the muscular system.
So before we move on to the next thing, and I'm sorry,
no, ask the question. I love it.
So what are you using in that? Like what plants are you using in that?
Yeah, so this one's actually a really complicated formula. There's like 30 plants in it.
Oh, really?
Hit
me with the highlights, I guess.
We got time. Should have picked something a little easier on that one. One of my favorite herbs in the recovery aid is an Ayurvedic herb called guggulu, and it's very effective on the joints. It's adaptogenic, which means it's very good on the nervous system, but it specifically lubricates muscle tissue. So as like the ligaments and the muscle tissue, right, are grabbing onto your joints, and part of that movement, right, when they strain from extraneous movement or, from overworking your muscles, there's all this lactic acid that builds up, right, and that helps to cause inflammation. So the guggulu specifically breaks that down and moves it. So it's one of the biggest heavy hitters. We in Ayurveda, we don't touch the joints without bringing guggulu in. Like we're talking joints, we're talking guggulu, right? That's just, one will equal the other.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Thank you. And then the other one is working hands. So I think this is the wood that you were talking about that you really enjoy, Josh.
I love
it.
Beautiful.
So this is deep skin repair for dry, cracked, callous skin. And this is one of my favorite products because it actually took me 3 years to get it right. Wow. I have a very good friend who he only has one good, like he only really has one hand that he can use. And he's a carpenter. So he's constantly sanding. And in the winter, he gets these deep bloody cracks in his fingers. And he needed something that would basically like work overnight and to heal the cracks in his fingers. And so I worked with him for 3 years to get the consistency right, to get the efficacy right. It works, but it's really goopy and I never want to put it on, Rachel. Like, fix that. Right? So we had to,
fix that goop.
All of these things, right? There was this laundry list of it works, but I don't like using it. And then as I was developing it, more people chimed in and were like, oh, I want some, I'll be a tester, and so I started working with a CNC machinist, a maritime machinist, a couple more carpenters, and just generally people in the trades. And what it does, now as it's on the shelves, it really does heal those deep cracks that happen in the skin, basically overnight, depending on how deep they are. But it's fantastic for any kind of dry, cracked, callous skin, knees, feet, hands, elbows, all of that. And a tiny, tiny bit is all you need. Like, I'll tell people this all the time. You just take a little dab with your finger and then rub it in, right?
Yeah.
You can always take more. So this little jar can last you like a year.
That's incredible. And I was before I got to the job that I'm in now, I was a mail carrier for 5 years, and outside wintertime, my hands would get all cracked and bleedy, and I would try everything, and it was like almost nothing would work. And either that or they were like you said before, super goopy or like greasy. And it's like I need to like not have to worry about greasing up people's mail, things like that.
Yeah.
Like I just don't like that feeling of like my hands feeling like slick. And when I tried that product because you were kind enough to share that with us, and let me tell you, man, it was like, what? This is incredible, and it smells fantastic. Like, oh man, I like I said, I worked with my hands a lot. I don't do as much anymore, but yeah, like highly recommend that for anybody working with their hands that has those issues. Like, oh man, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. As Josh was saying, I mean, you were kind enough to send us, and I actually ended up with that jar, so I made out with the better end of that deal for now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could give Josh some somehow, but yeah, I mean, I've been using it. I get really dry hands in the winter this time of year. I'd go out running and hiking and stuff, and it works wonders. And like Josh said, I mean, not to take it back to the goopy again, because goopy is just a fun word to say, but it isn't goopy. It's not greasy at all, which I think wwhenever I think of hand lotions, I just think of like the kind of greasiness, and like I really appreciate your friend who being like, no, I don't want the goopy or the oily, like, because that's such like a I just don't like it. It's
and it was such a back and forth because the goopiness often is we know it's unpleasant, like it's not a good it's not a good user experience, but that really is a big part of bioavailability. And so like the goopiness makes it more accessible often for your skin, right? Depending on what it is, but with herbal products, the goopiness is often bioavailability. So to have the bioavailability and the efficacy and then lack goopiness was the trick, right?
Yeah, that's key. That's incredible. Because and like I'll go back to it again because I know I just said it, but it smells fantastic. It smells so. I'm a huge scent guy. Like I like to smell nice. I like the things that I'm using to smell nice. And that's, I think, when we go back to kind of the conversation that we had a little bit earlier about when you think about natural products, all natural products, it's never has it crossed my mind that it's like this can be a natural product and also smell like there's the added perfumes that other products will use, other lotions and things like that will use.
Yeah.
But these products, because we used that hand cream, and then you sent us at that time was the bug spray as well.
Yes.
Which also smells fantastic.
It smells so good. It smells so. It was like it felt like I'm putting on cologne and then getting the added benefit of these mosquitoes are not going to bother me. And also knowing that this is I'm not throwing all that junk that off has into it, that I have to feel like I have to take a shower after I put on this bug spray. I felt like I could go out to a nice dinner and have this bug spray on me and smell like $1,000,000 and keep the mosquitoes away. Like that. Like I said, I'm a big time smell guy. This was a very roundabout way of me saying that like these products, they don't smell like they're your typical like all natural product. They smell incredible.
Thank you for saying that. I love that. Yeah, we use all essential oils. We don't use any fragrance oils because we want you to get the medicinal benefit of the plants, right?
Yeah.
And so that smell that you love in the working hands, that's actually hoe wood essential oil. It comes from a tree in Southeast Asia, and it specifically reduces inflammation in dermal tissues. So there you go.
It's incredible. Like the fact that you can put this thing that smells great, that has all these great benefits for us to use in these products is like, that's what blows my mind about all this, and I'll never be able to wrap my head around all of it.
Thank you. No, that means a lot, and I think that just comes back to the power of plants, right?
Yeah. And like you said, Nick, like it is that time of year if you got to get the stocking stuffers, you're looking for gifts for your loved ones. Like
absolutely. Between joint pain, muscle pain, and dry hands, I think most people that are hiking in the winter in the whites and stuff can certainly relate to those things. And I did have one truthful thing, but one thing that's a little funny. So my mother, Meme Claire, as we call her now, can attract mosquitoes or flies anywhere. and we were up in Maine towards the latter part of the summer, early fall, where there was still a bunch of flies kicking around, and she used your bug repellent, and she was scot-free. She did not have any flies. And my mom, I'm telling you, she can attract, like, nobody else will be getting attacked by bugs, and you'll be like, it's like the last mosquito that's like alive in like October somewhere, and it'll find her. It'll fly. I swear, within hundreds of miles, she can attract this, and she put it, and it was excellent. So it works. So we'll be looking forward to using that kind of more as things warm up again and the buggies are back. But we are headed into winter, so the dry hands and muscular soreness or something a lot of people are for sure going to be dealing with breaking out those trails this winter. So that's I think it'll be an awesome stocking stuffers for sure.
So glad to hear that.
So besides the products themselves, like I said earlier, like I think just kind of your business, the model of your business is incredible. And as I was reading through the website, kind of some of your mission statement stuff, I was reading over your guiding principles, and I was super intrigued by your people over profits initiative. Like it just brought such joy to my heart. But can you explain or tell us more about what that specific initiative is? And I know you have many, but this is one that kind of just stood out to me.
Absolutely. So, and I'm very happy to speak to that. It's one that's really central to my heart as well. First and foremost, what people over profit means is that we don't pay anybody minimum wage, because no human is minimum. There is no such thing as unskilled labor in my business. Interacting with humans is a skilled labor, right? Being able to set things up, take things down, be kind when people are unkind to you. Because this is retail, right? This is customer service. These are often low-paid jobs. And they often get categorized as unskilled labor jobs. And that's something I see as a myth. If it's a job worth doing, it's a job worth getting a living wage. And so the lowest that we pay anybody is $20 an hour, right?
Wow, that's incredible.
And honestly, I look forward to the day that I can say that the lowest we pay anybody is $25 an hour, because cost of living is going up, right? So we don't believe in minimum wage in this company. And then the second part of that, the broader part of that, is going back to this idea of systemic empowerment. I make an effort to hire individuals who otherwise have difficulty seeking employment. These are people who often have difficulty with employment because of medical conditions. But the long-term goal, and we haven't gotten there yet, but as the business grows, it's a big dream of mine that we will be able to work with individuals graduating out of foster care. So when kids graduate out of foster care, they've been in this system for like their lives, right? And then they get put out into the world, and they don't have the support systems that, people who know their parents have, who have, flesh and blood families have. We might have gotten our first jobs when we were 14 or 16 or something like that, right? Red tape often prevents foster care kids from getting a job as teenagers. And so then they're 18 years old, they're 19 years old, they have zero work experience. They don't have a support system, right? And they often end up back in the system because they fall through this donut hole, right? And so I have this ambition of working to place foster care kids into my company as they're graduating, and giving them this landing space, right? That we can offer them employment for a few months, and then they leave the program with a reference. Or if they like us and they stay with us, until they're ready to spread their wings and fly. Because let's be honest, this is product-based business. It's a retail-based business. Most people are not going to have their careers here. They're going to work with me while they're in high school and college, and maybe, there'll be some adults, of course, that do make their careers with me. But for the most part, people are passing through, and we want to empower them for the next stage of their life as they're doing that. And that to me goes back to creating systems of empowerment. You're taking marginalized and disenfranchised and disempowered communities, and through the power of plants and medicine, you're creating empowerment, right?
Yeah.
So that's really the vision of what I'm hoping to do long term with the business. But in the near term, it's about employing people that typically have difficulty with job placements.
That's so incredible. Like what a great cause and initiative that really is, because it just really feels like you're kind of impacting the value of people.
Yeah.
The value that people have, and it's so incredible. I really thought that was so cool.
Thank you. It's not the forefront, it's not the first thing that people see when they come to the business. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
Because it is central in a lot of ways to what motivates me every single day.
Yeah, it's so great.
Thank you.
So to kick it back to the beginning, I believe Josh mentioned that you're on a reality TV series at one point called Blocks.
Oh yeah, we got to.
Do you want to dive into that a little bit and how
yes,
that
I
happened
absolutely
and
so. It just seemed like a good idea to go on reality TV.
Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah.
Well, it happens when you just had drinks with the girls, and now there's a delay on the red line, and so you're waiting for 10 minutes, and you see something on your Instagram, and you're like, yeah, sure, okay. I mean, I qualify for this. I'll just fill it out, and not expecting anything to happen, not expecting that to be a real thing, and then all of a sudden, a few weeks later, you're in this interview with this casting director, and she's like, oh my God, I'd love, you're perfect. I'd love to sign you up for season 13. And I'm like, oh,
wow.
Well, now I'm going to be on reality TV. So it's called The Blocks, BLOX. And the joke is, who's the best entrepreneur on the blocks? But right?
Yeah.
But it's in my season, there were 120 entrepreneurs from all walks of life, from all over, the country, doing businesses from, product to services. Some of them already making 6 figures or already making 7 figures. Some of us, some of them not even launched yet. And we're all doing business related challenges. So it's like you have 15 minutes to write a commercial. You have 15 minutes to write an SEO strategy. And I happened to finish in the top 3.
Yeah, congratulations. Awesome. Put in the clap track.
So was Impact Botanicals already kicked off at this point?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. Okay. No, we've been launched for a while. We've been around for a few years, but I just am not yet in those income brackets in terms of business. So there were a lot of good things to learn. It was also really validating because, like, as I said earlier, I'm an herbalist. I had to learn business all by myself. I had to learn business the rough way, the expensive way, the watching a lot of videos on YouTube and trying a million things and seeing what stuck on the wall, right? And so competing on that show and then doing well was really validating that everything that I had basically been self-taught was like, right, like you're doing the right things. And it really does just take this long. It really is just this hard. And don't lose faith, don't lose hope, keep going, right? And you're going to have the best year yet. And we have. 2024 has been a great year for Impact Botanicals. Awesome. Implementing changes that we learned on the blocks, working with people that we met on the blocks, collaboration, teamwork makes the dream work kind of a thing. So it was a really cool experience. And now it's another oddity that I can just add to my background along with the boat racing, right? It's like boat racer, reality TV show winner. Yeah. So, that's so what it was. It was really cool. Highly recommend if anybody decides that they want to try and get cast on the blocks.
Yeah. And now we can check off on our box that we've had a reality TV star on the podcast. So that's a win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Put it on the resume.
Heck yeah.
Oh man. And that I think I saw on your website you can actually watch that episode. You can watch the whole season.
You can watch the whole season. It's on their website, betablocks.com. Also, I think it's on Facebook Watch.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely gotta check that out. We gotta throw that link up.
Yeah, we will.
So
it's good stuff.
We'll make sure
everybody
it's
can
in
see Rachel. What was the most challenging thing of being on that show?
The most challenging thing of being on that show, I think for me, it was, you don't know, like, you're being graded against criteria and you don't really know what that criteria is.
Okay.
You know, everybody's trying to win.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to win $10,000 and you have a challenge and you have some concept of what that challenge, you know, like, you know, generally what the answer is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But you have to convince this judge that you understood the concept that was being taught that day. You understand it in the context of your industry and your business, and that you have a really solid plan of action, like that this is what I'm going to implement. Right. And so there were some things where I'm like, I felt like I knocked it out of the park, but one of the judges didn't really, didn't speak to them. Right. So I think that was the biggest challenge, was you don't really know how you're getting graded, or, like, there's subjectivity in everything. So, like, the subjectivity, I think, is the hardest. I know a lot of people struggled with the challenges because you have 15 minutes to, like, write a commercial, right? Or you have 15 minutes to do this complex thing. And that wasn't as hard for me. So that was really validating.
That's awesome.
That's very...
Yeah. I would go to cheesy, like, jingles for show-off commercials. Impact Botanicals for all your botanical needs.
we like to use and I mean, it helps because I've written a few commercials for the business, right?
That's awesome.
But I like to use mythical creatures because nobody knows nature better than somebody who lives in the woods, right? And so just like, and you want to, usually it's on YouTube. So you got to have something weird so that people stop and watch the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we've had commercials with, somebody in full body paint from the waist up wearing horns, and they're like, I'm a woodland creature, I know natural, and this product is all natural.
That's excellent.
Classic. That's so
good. Right? It's so good. So good.
That's cool, though, because I would imagine, like, the parallels between, like, the way that you put it, of, like, not quite being sure of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, or what's going to resonate with the judges and things like that. I would imagine that parallels a lot to, like, every product that you put out. Like, is this going to be one that that takes off? Is this going to be... And sometimes they take off and you don't even expect it.
Exactly. There are products that I've made that I'm like, oh, this is going to do so well.
Yeah.
Nope. One of our best sellers, our Easy Breathe Decongestant Balm. I made that on a whim. I didn't expect it to do well. And, during the winter, it's Easy Breathe and Working Hands. That's it. Everybody gets those.
Yeah. That's so cool. Like, just the fact that it's like you throw this thing, not throw this thing together, but you create this thing. You're like, this is going to be helpful. I don't know how well it's going to do it. It's like bestseller.
Like, this was just a whim. This was just me messing around in my lab. Wow. I thought it would be cool. Didn't expect it to do well. All of a sudden, it's a top seller. So yeah, you're right. It's just like business.
Yeah, that's so epic. Nick? Do you have any other questions?
I don't think I do. Do you have any, Josh? Are we good?
No,
pretty good. I think we there's probably gonna be.
I have a question for you too.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Okay, you asked me what my favorite trails are. What are your favorite trails?
You remember the Oregon Trail, the computer game?
Oh, that's solid. That's solid.
No, Nick, you could go first.
So I would say, as far as trails that I like, anywhere in the northern presidentials in the White Mountains in New Hampshire is probably sort of that's my favorite region to sort of go hiking. Adams and Madison for sure. Locally, Wachusett, even though it's a little bit of a drive from us. I've only made it out to the West Coast really to hike once, but Joshua Tree was amazing. So I'd highly recommend that to anybody.
Yep.
Really enjoyed that. It was very different hiking the desert compared to out here. So those are probably my top hitters. Yeah, I think that's about it. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, so as all the listeners know, I'm definitely not as much of a hiker as Nick. I've hiked probably maybe 25 times in my entire life in the north, like in New Hampshire. But my favorite trail is probably right here in my hometown of Tiverton, Rhode Island, and it's the Fort Barton Trail, and it is like this beautiful scenic like jaunt through the woods with like these man-made like wooden bridges over these wonderful streams that all kind of connects to this little pond in the middle, and it's just like so peaceful out there. It's the sound of the water is like mesmerizing. And it's something I can do with my family. I have a 6-year-old son. I don't know if you know this, but I have a 6-year-old son and a 9-month-old daughter. So it's something that we can all do together and experience together. And you don't feel like you have to go too crazy. You really can just enjoy nature. And I like I've said before, like I'm way more of an explorer of the woods than a hiker. So I really like to like mess around and check out the different mushrooms that are growing in different areas, the what this plant is, and kind of check that out as opposed to like going up mountains. So it's I really enjoy that trail, the Fort Barton Trail.
I'm there with you, Josh. You know, I'm always getting distracted from the trail because I'm like, oh, look at what's over here, guys. You know, oh no, you go ahead. I'll catch up. You know, just.
I just don't know what the plants are, so I'm always worried that I'm gonna like rub up against something that's gonna make me itchy.
On trail. I'm usually pretty informative on trail as far as what we're going through, but definitely not so much in the school of like mushrooms and things like that. I have no clue, but. Usually
I'm just like, oh, this one's red on top. That's cool.
Yeah. I earned the nickname from it's more of a Josh nickname, not really widely used, but Scoutmaster Nick once when we were hiking. Leave Franconia Ridge because I was just pointing out different types of trees and like I'm like, look at this glacial erratic and things like that. And Josh like started this whole joke like Scoutmaster Nick. Always really grow on the north side of the tree.
That's so good. So good.
Man. Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
We do.
Sounds like it.
Do you have anything else? Any other questions or anything else that you want to kind of discuss before we?
Honestly, it's been such a pleasure. I really want to thank you for hosting me, for giving me the space to chat about all of these wonderful plants and the medicines that they bring to our world and how they can help us, you know, internally, topically, and you know, give me a platform to kind of talk about what I'm trying to do in the world. So I really appreciate that. And it's been great getting to know you. I'm definitely going to have to hook you guys up with some beard oil now.
Definitely need some beard oil.
Yes.
Oh man.
But yeah, it's been an absolute joy.
Well, yeah, we want to thank you for your time and for coming on as well. And I'm glad this sort of worked out. And I just wanted to shout out again. I think the whole amazing thing, I really admire how full picture you are on everything with Impact Botanicals, from sort of the mission to the sustainability to the sort of people over profit mentality. What you said about the plastic and sort of the Pacific garbage, that really resonated with me. It's cool that you're not just out there starting a business, you really are there starting something for systemic change. So that's really cool. To me, it's a lot easier if you're just going to go and start a business and just really just try to make money and use crappy ingredients. And you're clearly doing it the right and thought out way.
Thank you. So
it's very admirable.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And for me, it's really like the passion that you have for this. You can tell the years that you've put in to kind of hone this craft, but there's an extra element of something that can't be taught, and it is that personal relationship that you have with not only your employees, like the heart that you have for them, but also that same heart that you have for the environment. Because I was talking to my wife about this, knowing that I was going to be speaking to you today, and how much of a parallel there is between the care that you have to have for the environment and what that means of what you care about people, because you have to care about people to care for the environment, to say, I care about changing this so that way down however many generations down the road can have this beautiful park or whatever it is.
Well,
and that heart that you have for that has definitely shown throughout this conversation and really in what your mission is with your company. And you, on top of that, you have the knowledge, you have the years, the schooling and all that stuff. So I can't recommend Impact Botanicals enough. And that's really based off of everything that I've seen and everything I've heard and my own personal, even though it's a little experience, the little experience I've had with the products itself. So really, so thank you so much for coming on and really giving us this opportunity to have this conversation and really get to know you a little bit more. We are over the moon excited about the partnership that we have with you and you sponsoring us. And for everyone, check them out. They are located at myimpactbotanicals.com. Really check out their website. Go on there like we talked about before. Get yourself some stocking stuffers, some Christmas gifts. Get yourself some stuff for yourself to really just take care of your body. We're talking about full body wellness. So once again, Rachel, we really want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Nick, Josh, it's been real. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
You're welcome.
All right, so tonight's Descent is brought to you by Adventuristic Clothing. Adventuristic is a company that's owned and operated by our good friend Lori of the Himalayas episode. Maybe you tuned into that a while back. And she's running the whole ship over there. She does all the designs, all the shipping, all the everything, I guess, to do with Adventuristic. And she's doing a fantastic job. And she's dropping the winter collection. I should say it has dropped at this point. It's probably in full force as far as people kind of getting to it and seeing all the designs. And she's got some great stuff out there, all nature inspired, hiking, sort of just all that general feel that she's got over there. So if you do want to check out Adventuristic's clothing, you can use code PUDS, capital PUDS POD, for 20% off your first order and free shipping.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna scoop up some Christmas gifts on there.
Yes, just in time for the holidays and all that Black Friday shopping, though it seems like November is basically the entire month of Black Friday, it seems like.
Yeah.
Or I should say Black Friday is the entire month of November.
Yeah. It sure is, dude. Walmart already did their Black Friday stuff. They're like done now. Like Black Friday is done.
Yeah. It's like Halloween decorations in like July now, and then it just goes from there.
I'm kind of glad though, because it kind of stinks like all those places opening so early, opening at midnight, whatever, 1 a.m, for the masses to come and buy their 70-inch TVs. All these poor people, these poor workers having to like go to bed early, not be able to really enjoy their Thanksgiving. Yeah.
I mean, yes, but somebody's definitely still working early to ship all those things and get them to your house.
Maybe.
The Black Friday deals. Maybe they're just not doing it on the day of Black Friday. I do remember like those iconic stores. I feel like because when we were kids too, it was still really, not that kids' toys aren't a big thing, but there's so much digital stuff now and video games and things like that kids into. But I remember like my mom waking up like super early in the morning to probably get like a Power Rangers action figure back in like the 90s. And I remember like her going and probably battling all these people and like trying to get the toy that I like wanted. And like also times I remember specifically, I think it was the year Nintendo 64 came out. I think both my parents like tried to nab one and like you just couldn't that year. It was just like insane, like going Black Friday or whatever. Like it was just so thanks mom and dad for trying to get that to appease me back then. And I think I remember just like they're just like Santa couldn't get it, or like Santa wrote me a note being like it was just a tough year for Japanese manufacturing.
It's a tough year. It was a tough year for Power Rangers.
Oh, I for sure got like, I think that Nintendo 64 year, I think was also the year like Lost World Jurassic Park came out. So I got like dinosaur action figures and stuff instead.
Oh,
so
yeah.
All was well.
Good times.
All was well.
Good times. Yeah, we got to, have you ever you never stood in line on Black Friday? Like you never camped out?
Nope. I never did that.
I did it a couple times. It was not worth it.
Did you go with friends or whatever? Or did you go
Yeah.
for something specific? Yeah, I feel like people used to just do that. That was like a thing. I think Ashley used to do that with her cousins. Like they get up and go. She probably asked me. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, no, I did it. I did it a couple times, and then I worked Black Friday one year when I worked at Walmart, and that was pretty sick. But it was like, yeah, absolute mayhem. Couldn't believe it.
I mean, as a pizza delivery driver or working at a pizza place on Black Friday, that used to be insane, and I did not enjoy that very much. I can remember one time I used to work in a pizza place in Attleboro, Mass. And one time, a delivery that would normally take me 15 minutes away, I actually went to a Best Buy, took me 2.5 hours. It was like, I remember I got that order and I'm like, I was complaining to the person that took the order, to be honest, because I'm like, I'm going to be gone for like 2.5. I'm like, why are we taking? And they're like, oh, it's not that. It's not. It was like earlier in the day. It was like 11:30 a.m. or something. I'm like, they're like, it won't be busier to the afternoon. Like I was gone like just 2 or 3 hours. It was just insanity. Like missed out on a bunch of tips. Like there were 2 other drivers that were cleaning up, just delivering to houses off of Route 1.
Oh yeah, dude.
Good times.
Easy.
Good times.
Easy money.
Oh man. So you've been watching anything good lately?
Yeah, man. I started watching the Detroiters. So you know me. It's Tim Robinson was yeah, Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave. You know me, you know how much I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
So before he made that show, he made this show called Detroiters that was on Comedy Central that I'd never seen before, and I started watching it for the first time this past week. And it's hilarious, dude. It's the same kind of comedy. It's like right up my alley.
He like wrote all of it and producing it and doing the whole deal. Like I Think You Should Leave. Cool.
So it's him and Sam Richardson. I think Lorne Michaels from Saturday Night, like the main guy, head honcho from Saturday Night Live, has a hand in it in some way. So there's a few SNL people that are in there, but
that's cool.
Yeah, he I don't know why. His awkward comedy just gets me every time, dude. It's so good.
Cool, man.
Yeah, so check that out. It's on Netflix, The Detroiters. How about you, dude? You been watching anything good?
So I haven't watched it yet, but I did want to shout it out because we're planning on watching it sometime soon. But it is Thanksgiving time of year, and my favorite Thanksgiving-esque movie is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. With Steve Martin and John Candy. I look forward to this time. Like there's Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, meh. Like it's not. It doesn't have it's not as classic as like the Christmas or the Halloween one to me. And I know there's other Thanksgiving theme movies. Really not that many. But I mean, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. One of my probably top 20 movies, and it's absolutely my favorite movie to watch this time of year. It's just a good movie. It's super funny. I think they're both John Candy and Steve Martin are hysterical in it. I think it holds up really well. Classic.
I watched this.
What's the director's name that did all those 80s movies?
Oh, that's a great question.
I gotta look it up. I gotta do justice. I gotta do justice to it.
I watched this movie for the first time last year because you had recommended it and you said that you watched it every year.
John Hughes. It's a John Hughes movie. He did all like the Brat Pack movies and all that stuff.
Yeah, I watched it last year for the first time, and yes, it's very good, very heartwarming.
It strikes you. Movie. It's funny, but it gets you. It's got like a pretty good emotional component to it. When you, spoiler, John Candy's wife is actually dead. And,
spoiler if you haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles
something at the end of it. And I'm like, we're spoiling it from like the 80s or wherever the heck it's come out.
Oh man.
See. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it came out in 1987, so we're not spoiling anything. If you haven't seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles,
check it out.
Yeah, check it out for sure.
Seen it, check it out. But we just kind of spoiled it, a little bit of it for you. So hopefully it wasn't too big of a spoiler.
Hopefully not.
But yeah, man, you ready to get into a hypothetical?
Oh, I'm always ready for a hypothetical, Josh. Always.
Let's do it, baby.
Let's do it, baby.
Baby.
Okay, I guess. Let's do it.
All right, Nick.
Josh.
In your dream house, whatever. Imagine your dream house, okay?
Okay,
whatever that house may be. Think of all the details you would like this home to possess, including furniture.
Okay.
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 Got it? You got it locked in?
It's mostly locked in.
You are suddenly given the opportunity to trade wherever you live now for this hypothetical home.
Okay.
And your mortgage will be whatever you currently pay. The home will be in roughly the same location as your current residence. However, there is one odd caveat. This dream home is buried 2 miles underground. When you look out of the windows, all you see is dirt. In order to enter the residence, you will have to take an elevator that travels down the 2-mile shaft at high speeds. It's about a 5-minute trip down. The elevator is comfortable, and there is a staff located above ground that provides 24/7 maintenance on the elevator. If something breaks or goes wrong with the elevator, you will be rescued immediately. Would you accept this underground dream home?
No. The whole fact that it had to be where we live. I mean, not that I don't like where we live, but I think if I had a dream home, I'd probably pick somewhere else other than here, which is like logistically, I know it'd be different for like our jobs and stuff, but
they said roughly the same area. So, all right. So,
yeah, I mean, so if we could like go to the ocean or something, but it's underground, like it just seems weird that you could, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a solid no for me.
Even if it was in the location that you'd want it to be?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm with you, dude.
Having a 2-mile shaft to get to. Also, 5 minutes to go down 2 miles seems like a really long time. I'm just being honest. Like that, I feel like most elevators can go a lot faster than that. Like that seems like imagine it being 5 minutes every time you had to go in or out of your house. Like you go to get the mail, you had to plan for that like 10-minute of elevator time to go up, go to the mailbox, go back, go down.
I hope there's a toilet on there because I can't tell you how many times it's a photo finish me getting in the house. So
like I just made it.
I feel like I already have. I mean, maybe not my absolute dream home, but I just built my house, so I'm pretty happy with what I got going on.
That was my thought, is like you were describing it. Like I'm pretty happy with my house right now. Like I don't know, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say neither of us have small houses by any stretch of imagination, but we definitely don't have like McMansion houses with like 7 bedrooms and 5,000 square feet or something crazy like that. Like I think we both live in pretty normal neighborhoods for like the northeastern US.
Oh, for sure.
But that's a weird one. Like that's one of the first ones I've just been like immediately no, like I'm good.
Yeah. I think if we didn't have, maybe if we were still renting right now, we were in like the renting phase of our lives, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think because we're both homeowners, it's kind of tough to say, yeah, I'm going to take that and live underground. Like, not worth it.
I was waiting for them to throw some sort of weird twist in, like you were going to like lose your arm or something like that, and you'd be able to get it. Nope. Like, would you do this? But no, that was just kind of a flat one.
The twist is it's underground. So
the hypothetical let me down a little bit, Josh.
I'm sorry, buddy. Well,
it's okay. They can't all be winners.
That's all right. We'll have some turkey. Make you feel better.
It will. Tryptophan.
Yeah, so happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
We will catch you on the next one.
Catch you on the flip side.
Once Nick gets back from wherever he's going.
The desert. Las Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Yeah. Until then, you can find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. Don't forget to reach out for some stickers.
Going like hotcakes, by the way. Going like hotcakes.
We're going to have to get some more. We're going to have to get some more for sure.
Yes.
So, yeah, like, review, subscribe. Anything else, Nick? Did I miss anything?
No, other than that, check us out on YouTube. I don't think you called that out specifically. Yeah. We need to get better at plugging that too. But Josh has been spending his hard off work hours editing and throwing some video together so that you can actually watch these episodes in addition to listening to them. If you do, I mean, if you don't want to see what we look like, then just continue listening. If you do want to actually see what we look like, then and you want to see our interactions and sitting, and you want to see Josh's new background, and you want to see my background that's generally the same. You can watch it, or you can just choose to listen if you don't want to see us. But it's up to you.
I did spend the whole beginning of this episode describing things on my wall, so maybe check us out on YouTube so you can see exactly what I'm describing.
If nothing else, to see the pictures that Josh was pointing out in the Dundee and the PUDs plaque.
Yeah, the PUDs plaque, the Dundee.
Pod plaque.
It's
almost like Affleck, but pod plaque.
Oh, all right, man. Well, until next time. Bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye. PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Hat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.